This is Absolutely Essendon, the Bombers fan channel that is as inconsistent as Jake Stringer's hamstring. Yes, there's been a bit of a lull. Thanks for bearing with us, but we are back now and so much has been happening, so much to catch up on. Let's get stuck straight into it. No mucking around. Cue the music. All right, yes, we are back. This it is not a mirage. Apologies, thank you to all the people that reached out saying, yeah, well, what's the deal, guys? Where are you? We appreciate you.
I saw your face on the side of a carton of milk, actually.
Oh, did you gone missing?
Yeah.
Oh, well, initially, why? You probably want to know why. What's the deal? Because, you know, the number one most important thing if you are going to manage a YouTube channel is consistency.
Yeah,
and
totally.
we fail on all the metrics. Yeah. But here we are. First of all, DT got sick. Was that COVID 7.4?
Don't know what it was.
The Finland variant?
But the dulcet tones were lost to the world for a period of time there. And, but I'm back and I'm all good. I'm all good.
Good to see you back. And so then after the Melbourne game, we were pumped. We were up and about.
Yes.
And just literally, I was about to press record.
He was.
And life interrupted in the biggest way. And so we were delayed yet again. So, but here we are. And looking forward to catching up somehow, even though, you know, I know what you're going to say. A lot of the news is stale now.
Sure is.
It's stinky. It smells, and it's no point picking at the scab.
We move on. But I do want to say, I have to say how touched I am, and I know you are as well, at so many heartfelt messages of concern about our whereabouts. It really gives you faith in mankind to think if anything ever happened to us, people have got our backs.
Yeah. Like the messages that say, guys, you owe us 3 episodes.
Right. Yeah. It's so touching.
What's the deal, man?
So moving.
WTF.
Yeah, I mean, those sort of sentiments of concern are so selfless, aren't they? Really?
No.
But you know, Felix. Felix over at Everything Essendon.
Yes,
they're actually bombarding him, going, "Hey, have you seen the guys?" And so, thanks for your message, Felix. I did get it.
Did you respond to him?
No, I thought I'd say it to him personally. Okay. So,
well, thanks for reaching out, Felix. We do appreciate it.
But
we really do.
The young boy is just pumping stuff out. So whilst we're away basking on a beach somewhere, you can always trust that Felix has got the latest news and views coming out of the hangout anyway.
Yeah. So even though we may be on the side of a milk carton, Felix is there delivering.
He is the four corners to our current affair. He really, really is.
He is. Okay,
so, moving on.
I know you're not going to want to even touch on this sort of thing, but
if you're going to talk about the last game, I mean, I can't even remember it. So if you want to, we'll give it a go. I don't think anyone cares.
Just a quick, I know everyone else has probably analysed it to the Scheisenhausen. I get that.
Yep.
But I just want to acknowledge it and say that, well, a couple of things I want to say. First of all, the previous week I was talking about, the meaningfulness of a victory. And for me, that win against Melbourne
was
the
meter.
The meter.
Oh, the meaningfulness
so the
meter.
meter was going over. Because for me, It was very meaningful because, and I think everyone knows what I'm going to say, but I'll say it anyway, we were being bombarded in that third quarter. I think 4 or 5 goals kicked against us in succession. We looked kind of nowhere. And normally, if you follow the Essendon playbook closely, we generally roll over at that point. But we didn't. We found a way and we got out and got on top again in that last quarter. And that gave me a lot of heart. Yes, against a team that hasn't won for the year, but that gave me a lot of heart, that victory, especially because it was in the hands of a few players who, to be fair, we've probably questioned on this show previously.
Right. Well, thank you for that. Yeah. No, I'm just trying to remember.
I've got more.
I'm trying to remember the game. But look, it's interesting. You talk about that third quarter. Melbourne did come back in the third. They were terrible in the first half. I mean, that's another point of discussion. How bad were they, or how good were we? I don't know.
That is true. They were in that first half.
Yeah,
they were.
Let's be honest. They're 0-5. I don't think we want to be popping the champagne corks too quickly, but a win's a win.
But they weren't as terrible in the third quarter.
No, they weren't. But interestingly, on I think it's what's that new football show called?
The Furnace.
No, the one with where Caroline Wilson went to. The Agenda Setters.
Oh, God,
that one.
I haven't even heard of it.
They talked about that third quarter. I think it was Daisy Thomas who actually said, because Brad Green, I'm sorry to just, for a minute, bear with me, Brad Green, who's the president of Melbourne Football Club,
is he?
Actually sent a letter out to their members, because they're in a bit of crisis control, going, guys, don't worry, just look at that third quarter against Essendon. It shows what we're capable of. So on the agenda setters, they actually looked at that and went, you know what? They did nothing special in that third quarter. It was a little bit of luck here, a few balls going the right way for them. Jake Melksham outmarking two guys that he would never do again.
Yes, he did do that, yes.
It kind of fell their way. And in the end, it was a 5-3 quarter. So we got that goal at the end of the third quarter, which Martin pinched off Stephen May. Yep. Was it a mark? Wasn't it a mark? Who knows? But he got the goal, and I think that made all the difference. And then, of course, the final quarter, we kicked 5 goals, I believe, in that last quarter and, iced the game. But well done to the Bombers. 2-2 after a pretty, concerning start, I think. And in the last 2 games, both of those games, I don't think they've kicked more than 60-odd points against us. So after the 121-odd points or whatever it was, it was 160 points, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
160
that
points.
Adelaide kicked,
We've only had about 57 and 61 points or whatever it is kicked against us.
That's right.
So that was
and all of a
good.
sudden the back line is looking a lot better. And I want to get to that because, of course, that was they asked Brad Scott about that in the presser after the game. Well, I mean, I'll get into it now because it was just interesting. His sticking to his narrative because he was feeling all vindicated.
Was he?
Because they sort of said, they asked, what's the difference with the back line, these last 2 weeks, where you've kept the teams to around 60 points, and he said, not much really. And so his point being that it's a game of inches. And, you only have to be off by 5%. You only have to be slightly reactive. But I would like to add, though, that the difference is Jordan Crichton medalist Ridley, who in the last 2 games was back. Yes, he played in the first game against Hawthorn, but, Scrimshaw took him out there and don't know whether that would have, we would have won the game, possibly not.
Yeah.
But I would have thought that's the big difference in the back line rather than just saying, it's all the same.
He is the prince. He is the prince of the back line. Prince Jordan of Ridleyania. Is that what he is? Or Prince Ridley of Jordania? I can't remember, but he's one of those.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But for sure, he makes Ben Mackay twice the player he is. He really has just done what we hoped, is that Ridley becomes that intercept king, that rebounding player who sort of can play almost loose. And we've got Ben Mackay, who has been actually very good in the last two games. I'd like to talk about the Bronx cheering, by the way.
Again?
Because,
why, is it still happening?
Well, no, because he's come out and talked about it since.
Oh, did he?
And the other element of that, of course, is Zach Reid, who played without a doubt his best game at AFL level for Essendon against Melbourne in the gather round. He was fantastic. I think he had 10 marks in defence.
Right.
And wow, if that's what we've got to look forward to with Zach Reid, maybe, just maybe, that 2020 draft booty won't be a bust after all, because he looked great.
Yeah, and can I just say...
Yes, please.
Sorry, on that point, I mean, I felt that the turning point in the game, and I can't remember whether it was at the end of the third quarter, I think it was maybe at the end of the third quarter when Melbourne had been on top. Not the same sort of level turning point as El Hawley the week before against Port Adelaide when he came on, did that run through the centre, Kako, Martin.
Magic
goal.
moment,
yep. It wasn't the same, but he took that mark on the wing where he almost broke his neck. And I just felt like that moment there, it just kind of just stemmed the flow.
You're not mistaking that with the Archie Perkins mark, are you, on the wing?
No.
Oh, okay, because he did that big mark and landed on his neck as well.
I mean, sorry, I mean Archie Perkins.
Oh, okay. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I said Archie Perkins.
Oh, did you? I was away with the fairies.
I think you were.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, that for me was that was that moment. because people have been critical of him as well.
Yeah,
I just
true.
thought that was
true.
that was a clutch moment, and he made his mark. So the other point I wanted to make was, talking about the meaningfulness of the game, because I said the week before, the win over Port Adelaide, nothing to get too excited about because I don't think they're going anywhere. Fast forward a week, what they did to Hawthorn, where they completely dominated in the first half.
Yeah.
You just think, well, maybe they're not so bad. What do you think?
Well, the old we beat them and then they beat them, so that means we're
no, I know. Right. No, I'm not saying that. So but I'm saying they're not as bad as perhaps I was suggesting.
No, I mean they're Hawthorn were appalling in that first half of that game against Port Adelaide. I mean they were witches' hats, but then came back. And perhaps with a little luck, maybe there was the controversy at the end with Willie Rioli, of course, and the double goal that came from that play. Maybe Hawthorn could have got there and beaten our record for the greatest ever comeback. They didn't, and that's great. But Port Adelaide certainly are no pushovers. Of course, at home they're always a better side. So, look, just to sort of wrap up, because I think we've all done the Melbourne game, and I think it was a key word. You said to me after the game, describe that result in one word. I said professional, and then you said mature. So I think that's exactly what it was. We did what we had to do. We were challenged, and the team responded. And I thought the way they played out that game and the dying minutes just controlled the tempo of the game so well. Really just didn't buckle under pressure, didn't do any sort of crazy kamikaze kicks, and played the game to the siren, and it was a very good win.
Okay, so let's then take from that game. There were a couple of incidences that now have wider ramifications. So first of all, maybe let's talk about the fact that Nick Bryan got injured in that first quarter.
Very unlucky.
And the sub El Hawley came on, and it was interesting that he was named as the sub, obviously before the game. And I had a quick look at social media to see what was the consensus view, and he was not happy at all. So in the end, he ended up playing. So the fans got what they wanted, but not in the best way.
Scott sort of fabricated Brian's knee injury to get him on earlier. Read a bit of the social media commentary.
Take some of the pressure off. But what that meant was, of course, that then Draper couldn't play in the forward line, and so had to play in ruck up against his hero, Max Gawn, and now finds himself at a club that...
So there's
a ruckman.
There's a lot of, what do they call it? The domino effect.
Yes.
And... so I think there's parts of the fan base going, I don't mind if Adelaide come for Sam Draper as a free agent. We could get a decent draft pick as a compensation.
Yeah, that was
do we really want Sam? Is he that good? Well, right now Sam Draper is probably eyeing himself a new Porsche, I would think, because Essendon are going to have to stump up some more bucks. He is in the driver's seat, or his manager is at least, in negotiating a new contract with Essendon, and I don't think the club has any choice but to go with whatever is being proposed, because we can't, I think Brian was on a fantastic trajectory, but the ACL injury puts him in doubt, certainly for the rest of this year, and then the question is, how does he come back? I'm sure he will. But Draper's in a very good bargaining position.
Yeah, I know. But you talk about mature performances, right? Yeah, his was one of them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He seemed quite focused, especially with that late switch in role. And that's what was impressive.
Yeah.
Like, if you knew you could count on that every week.
Oh, look, he was great. He took that great mark as well.
Yeah, he did.
But... definitely. I mean, a mature performance is exactly, and he needs to start to become that mature professional player.
Yeah,
we know he brings the X factor.
Yeah,
it's whether he can just do that consistently, but he's going to have to now because, I suspect, and we can come to the game against the Eagles, but I suspect there's two options, probably Wright or Goldstein. I suspect it will be Wright that will come in, but Draper's now going to have to front up and be the key ruck, whereas I believe the club was sort of seeing him more as a forward ruck, and Brian doing the majority of the centre bounces. That's changed now, so we will have to adjust the game plan a little bit.
I think so. So I don't know if you saw, there was an article about 6-7 days ago in The Age from a a guru list manager. Oh, that's my word. I don't know. Maybe, but he has form.
Not Dodoro.
His no, not on this occasion. No. His name is I think Chris Pelchin.
Oh,
I
yes,
think.
yes.
Anyway, he was at Port Adelaide when they won the premiership early 2000s. Then he went to the Hawks for a few years. They won 2 or 3 premierships, and then I think he may have gone to the Saints after that. But new board came in and disagreed with his way of doing things, and so
winning premierships.
Yes,
sounds
they're
like
no, that's not for us.
Yeah.
But he wrote an article on Essendon and what moves he would make, and just very quickly.
Yes. What did he say?
Now this is before Nick Bryan went down.
Oh, okay. Right.
So he said, "Yep, Peter Wright, move him on.
Yep.
I'll imagine for whatever you can get. Either Nick Cox or Harrison Jones should go.
Yeah.
Darcy Parish,
Bit harsh.
see what you can get, and Sam Draper."
Okay. Right.
He says, milk that trade capital and go after people like Matt Rowell or Harley Reid.
Well, look,
that was his.
If we didn't have 2 first-round draft picks coming up, which we have, maybe there's some truth. I don't think the pressure is on us to move those guys on now because we do have those draft picks and a bunch of good young players already on the list. So I think we can afford to sort of keep those guys going. Look, Harry Jones, he still hasn't got going this season, I don't think. He's been good in patches.
Yeah.
Nick Cox, of course, has been off with injuries.
Yeah, the concussion.
So those two, I think, have to probably show something by the end of this year. But, I don't think Peter Wright's going anywhere for the very reason that we'll probably see him come into the team this week.
Big call.
Yeah, Parish, Parish is on a long-term contract on pretty good coin. Who's going to take him? Who's going to offer up any trade capital for him now? He's 28 years old.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's going to happen. So I believe with the way Melbourne's going, we probably have a top 5 draft pick with them.
Now you're trying to will them into mediocrity.
That was the best outcome of the game against Melbourne, was just consigning
them. It's like a double hit.
Right. So, they're a broken football club. They could very well finish. They won't finish on the bottom because the Eagles are like a high school team, but they're going to finish in the bottom 3 for sure. I mean, if they suddenly find their mojo again, I'd be surprised. So, that trade, offloading our pick 9, for their future first-round pick, which everyone at the time, the media was, scorning Essendon and laughing at Essendon for doing that. That's now turned out to be potentially a masterstroke. So we'll see how that plays
let's
out.
see, early days. Yeah. But the other news to come out of the game, Archie Roberts' Rising Star nomination.
Yeah, yep.
Great to see.
Amazing, and he had 28 disposals. He had, I think, the most tackles on the ground. His efficiency was in the 80% range. Yep. He's just 8 games. He's played 8 games of footy.
He was great the week before as well against Port Adelaide.
He looks like he's been playing footy for at least 100 games.
He does. He has. He has poise. He has grace.
Yeah, real composure.
He
was picked up with... I know you don't like the draft so much, but I think it's interesting. He was picked 53.
Yeah.
And
but that only confirms my...
Well, no, because there was we had inside information on Archie Roberts.
Because no one else has access to it.
No.
All right. What was this inside
His
information?
coach at school was Matthew Lloyd at Haileybury College. It was Matthew Lloyd.
He's the only one with a telephone?
Yep. Lloyd.
Everyone else is bloody... How are they sending it, writing it, scrolling a note, giving it to a pigeon? Hey, sending it...
Said, hey, guys...
Right.
Have a look at this kid.
Yeah, okay.
We got him. And I think I put on our Twitter account, a stupid remark about how, we bag Dodoro all the time, but he got that one right. And I was then assaulted with people saying Dodoro had nothing to do with it. It was Matthew Lloyd. So
right. Oh, did you? Oh, yeah, that's why you're running with that. Okay.
No, I thought I'd just swallow my pride and admit that. But no, he's great. Well done to him. What a player. They call him the enforcer.
Do they?
They do.
Is that
the enforcer?
Is that because he doesn't look like an enforcer type? Is that the gag?
No. I think he's like hard as nails.
Oh, really?
But the thing I was thinking about is when you're out on the footy field and you're calling for the ball, like if it's Nick Cox, for example, you go, Coxie.
Yep.
Coxie.
Yep.
How do you call out quickly? The enforcer. It doesn't kind of work, right?
It's a bit hard.
You got to have an on-field version of that.
It does.
Forcer. Yeah, it could be that. It could be that.
It's probably that. Yeah,
good. I like that. Forcer.
Let's hope. Okay, other news to come out of the game. Shield, again, putting in another great performance, high possession game, and I think he's looking to put pen to paper as well.
Right.
He wants to see a deal.
So Dylan, very timely, was interviewed in the media and just said, I'm pretty keen to stay around at the Bombers. Right on the back of having two of his best games in 8 years. Right. So, come on, Dylan. Let's see how we go. I think if he can keep this form going, for a while, then maybe he is worth keeping on the list. Yes. But I can tell you, a year ago, no one would have ever thought that, right?
No, that's right. Other special mentions, just quickly to Setterfield. It was great to sort of see him in the side and the role that he played.
Good get.
And Hobbs as well, just continuing to perform.
Yeah, I love it when Setterfield comes into this side. Yeah, everyone sort of poo-pooed that selection, but I've always said we're a better team when he plays.
Yeah.
He just gives that midfield a bit of balance. We have a little bit of variety in the type of players in that midfield, and he's a pressure beast. He's a pressure beast. He's a tackling beast, and when he gets the ball, he disposes of it pretty well. So the question then is, does he keep Elijah Sardis on the sidelines for another week?
Because I don't have an answer, but I would say probably yes. Because of the balance that it provides, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you remember Sardis's last game, he had 25 plus possessions and was actually not too bad. People still question his disposal efficiency, but he was pretty good. Then he busted whatever he broke, and he may not get back into the team. So that's an interesting thing, and that's good, right? So we've got pressure on selection.
You do.
But Setterfield must play again this week. It would be absolutely criminal not to select him on the back of his performance against Melbourne. So well done to him. And of course, let's just not forget Zach Merritt. Geez, how many times have we said his name in the last couple of years on this show?
Yeah.
I think he's currently rated third best player in the competition. And, apart from that sort of blowout against Adelaide, which I believe he had 30 possessions in that game from memory, but
he did.
He probably won't get the votes.
Yeah.
Must be up there in the Brownlow already. And, Zach, he's just getting better. He's just getting better.
Yeah.
What a game he played, and let's hope he keeps going.
38 disposals.
Was it 30? Amazing.
Mention him so often, I feel like people probably getting nosebleeds every time.
He's averaging 1.5 goals a game too from the midfield. Oh, he's playing a little bit more forward, but we're so blessed to have him in the team. He is a champion of our football club. He really is, and there's been few of those in the last 20 years, but he is definitely one of them.
Sorry, someone else who's probably going to keep his place in the squad, given the goals that he kicked, was Jai Menzies.
Of course.
Never kicked the 4 goals.
There's a lot to talk about this game, isn't there? I mean, it's only about 5 weeks late.
That's what I was trying to say. But still, it's. I was so happy for him. We'd sort of suggested that maybe he wasn't up to the mark, but he kicked 4 goals, possibly could have been 5, and was up and about. And boy, do we need some goal kickers.
So he's got to do it again.
Well, this is the thing, right? This is the issue. Maybe not 4 every week, but we definitely need a couple out of him because we've lost, of course, Tom Edwards for the season.
Yeah. Look, he was great. And what amazes me is he's actually a very good mark of the footy for a little guy. But, geez, he can't kick far, can he?
No.
He's good from about 5 metres out. But he was great. And look, he's played a couple of games where you really think, wow, there's a player there. If you remember, he filled in on a half-back flank. Was it last year? It might have been last year. And had a 28, 29 possession game playing off a half-back flank. Yeah. And everyone's going, wow, Jai Menzies.
That's right. That's right.
So
exactly. Remember that?
Yeah.
But I think he kicked 4 goals. I think last year was there a run of 14 games where he didn't kick more than 4 goals?
3 or 4 goals for the whole season.
In total?
Yeah. So he did that in one game. Yeah. So, great for him and great for the team.
Yes, yeah.
We need it. We need it.
We definitely do. So we now move on. We're sitting at 2-2, but we're sort of one game behind because of that opening round fiasco. But at least we are 2-2. We face the Eagles on Good Friday, the holy day.
Well, for some, not for everyone.
hopefully we can put that game away. I'm not banking anything. But the Blues did beat them by 70 points.
And that was their first win, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was for the season. So it's good to be part of the Good Friday action.
Well, it is. It's another marquee game for the Bombers, I guess, over in the West. And this could be a bit of a crucifixion for the Eagles, I would think.
Let's run with the religious terms.
Well, I tell you what, someone will be wearing a crown of thorns at the end of that game. I don't know. Is it a banana skin game for us? I mean, surely not.
I thought the Melbourne game would be that. Honestly, I very much thought that was going to be the result.
Yeah. They're more credentialed, aren't they?
Yeah. The Eagles, who knows, that flight across the Nullarbor, it does funny things. So I'm not banking that either. However, to then go into Anzac Day 3-2 with just a little bit more confidence, it certainly creates a great a lot of excitement leading into the marquee game. That really is a marquee game. Not sure about this Good Friday business, but that would be.
Yeah.
But first, let's get this win.
So Brad Scott was doing his press conference and playing it down. He was very much, look, you can't take any team lightly. The old Scott approach.
Yep. Any team on their day.
He's always got to get out of jail card, Bradley.
Yes.
But he was making that point to say that the team is very focused. They're not going to take the Eagles lightly. He was grinning and sniggering and crossing his fingers. But I think we do have to be careful. And any team on their day can upset another side. We saw Richmond do that to Carlton, although Carlton then proved to be pretty average. Since then. We couldn't possibly lose this game. We couldn't possibly.
Why would you go and do that?
I'm saying it in a kind of questioning way. I'm not categorically saying it. I'm saying
there's a question mark.
Is there? There is no chance. Surely not. Surely after that mature professional performance that we just talked about against the Demons. What
if it's an audition for Harley Reid and he just thinks, right, I'll show you guys. I'll show you what you guys could have. On the books.
Well, he's not coming to Essendon because, according to Sam McClure, Harley Reid is not coming to a team that doesn't win. He said Essendon's one of those teams. So Sam McClure, he's got a track record of accuracy, hasn't he? But no, look, the Eagles, seriously, this is a game where we need to flex a little bit. Our percentage is up at around 90. After that, pretty disastrous game against Adelaide. So we picked up a bit of percentage in the last two games.
We did.
Be nice to pick up a little bit more.
Look, it would, but But let's just, we all know that the thing that has been lacking in this side, apart from not winning enough games, is when we do win games, is putting any teams to the sword. And, in the last couple of years when we thought we should be beating North Melbourne easily, it was always like a last minute goal. West Coast, same thing. So, that would be another sign of maturity to be able to do that. Let's hope that. Let's hope that we see some signs of.
Well, I think it was 22. I think it was. We went over to Perth. They were pretty rubbish that year too, and we got beaten. What was it? It was 22, I think.
Was it
23? We went over and beat them quite easily. I think it was about 50 points. So, it's been a bit of a mixed bag on trips over to Perth.
Yeah, right.
Even, given the Eagles have not been a strong side for a period of time. So, but look, they must be up for it. They've got to come out firing. Whether they can sustain that for an entire game and actually have the talent to do the damage that's needed, I don't know. But I expect they'll put up a show.
Yeah,
I do.
I would have thought in front of a home crowd.
Yes.
After the loss over there in Adelaide, I would have thought the first half could be a little tight.
So that brings us to inclusion. So whilst we're recording this, we don't know, but by the time this goes to air, we'll have the teams.
All right. Well, Nostradamus, tell us ins and outs.
Well, yeah. Obviously, there's one definite out with Brian going. And I mean, Brad Scott wants to play 2 ruckmen. So you would have to think that it's going to be Wright or Goldstein. I mean, Goldstein had a pretty good game in a practice match against, was it Hawthorn?
Right.
On the weekend. We gather round. It wasn't a formal VFL match, but it was a practice match.
Okay.
Did pretty well from all reports. And Peter Wright got 3 goals in that game too.
Did he?
So I think it will be Peter Wright. I think he provides a goal-scoring target as well, a marking target.
Nice big ground. He might have a bit of space to work in.
It is a biggish ground, but I'm just worried about what impact that's going to have on Nate Caddy. Does it sort of create more confusion in that forward line? I don't know. I mean, if it's not him, it would be Goldstein. I don't think they'll take a chance on Visentini. On Vigo.
I was going to ask about that. No, not yet.
Not yet. No.
Okay. Any idea how far away King Kyle of Lank 40
I think
is?
it's about 3 or 4 weeks.
Still.
Yeah. I mean, that's the typical lesson and sort of hamstring injury, isn't it? They say 3 and they're gone for 10.
Yeah.
So, but he's still out, and Caldwell, of course, is still out. No chance he'll be back. Parrish, of course, redid his cuff and is out for another 5 weeks. So there's these recurring problems with injuries, soft tissue injuries. Well, we know Langford got his, of course, in the game against the Hawks, but a lot of these guys are doing it at training, which is a worry. It's the hangout, it's the burial ground curse.
It is. It continues to be a significant concern.
I don't think there'll be any other changes. Honestly, I think it'll be the one change. Why would you change?
Setterfield stays in?
I think he will. He has to. He has to, surely. Will Al Hawley be on the subs bench again?
What do you think?
Well, it was always going to be him or Menzies, and I can't see Menzies being on the subs bench after his game.
Because we need the goals.
Right. So I think Al Hawley will probably... Because he got to play pretty much the full game last week.
He did.
Whenever that game was. I can't even remember. Was it last week? It was, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
That's what happens when you're lying on a beach. And... So yeah, I think there'll be no change other than probably Wright in for Brian, unless there's any sort of late injuries that we don't know about.
All right. Well, by the time this is floating around the interweb, the answers will be revealed.
Yeah, they will.
So I think that's about it.
I think so. I mean, we spent a lot of time talking about something that is ancient history, so we do apologise for that. But it's always good because we don't necessarily go into like kicks, marks, handballs. It was more of a let's look at the narrative about the football club.
It's a holistic view.
It was.
It is.
And so with the Eagles this weekend, it's Easter. We will come back from Perth hopefully 3-2.
Yes.
And then the following Friday, we're ready to take on those nasty pies.
Yes.
And I don't know whether you noticed, but Jamie Elliott played his 200th game. Just had his, or it's coming up, I can't remember.
All right.
But the Collingwood Football Club was running a poll about the most memorable moment in his career.
Right.
And
of course.
It was the goal after the siren from 2 or 3 years ago.
Yep.
And to which I've responded, well, actually, I think his most memorable moment was the dropped mark in the drawn game last year when he could have won the game for Collingwood.
Yeah.
So
how did that go?
It didn't go well.
No.
I got a lot of people saying you're a muppet. Well, they thought it was you.
It's about they would. That's sort of.
So congrats to Jamie. You know, we get a lot of Pies supporters on here.
We do. We have a lot of followers of other clubs.
And I know the waiters down at Entrecôte are sending him his very warm regards.
Are they?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, let's leave it at that. Again, thank you for sticking with us. We really do appreciate it. Thank you for checking in with us. Do like and subscribe. And all that kind of stuff.
The people who unsubscribed maybe consider resubscribing.
Yeah. We saw some people just spat the dummy and just said, well, I mean, if you guys aren't going to upload, well, that's it. I'm out of here. I'm not sticking around for this bullshit.
Right. Yeah, I don't blame them. It's expensive.
It is.
It's not a cheap hobby watching us. So,
okay. All right. That'll do. We're going to be back soon this time. We promise.
We will. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
See you later.
Bye-bye. All right. Bye-bye.